And hello again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's your host, Marley Startled, and we've just come off some Ultimate Admiral Dreadnought to play some Hearthstone 4. This will be the last one before Christmas, because I want to play more of that Ultimate Admiral Dreadnought. This will just be covering the USA and some more fact considerations. Now, I'm not the best USA. I don't tend to play it because it's quite a boring nation. I tend to actually just play miners, but for the most part, we'll just go over the different things to consider, and we'll talk about certain priorities you want to make and the general overall strategies for the United States. So the first thing we're going to do is do new game, select scenario, and select United States of America. And there we are. Historical focus as per usual, do it on regular. Now this will mean that the simulation won't go very well because Germany tends to collapse and not D-Day war very well, but you'll get a general idea about build priorities and things like that. So, as the game loads, we will then talk about the United States. He says, because I've got to pad this out, boys and girls, otherwise you're going to have lots of hours of silence. So, here we are. Here's our boys. Let's get them all up. Stick them all in one group. And then we can do some communication. Haha, haha, haha. There's probably an easier way of doing this. If anyone knows how, please feel free to tell me. And that should mostly be all of them. There we are. Okay, so the USA. What is the United States of America? Well, it is a very large country, very powerful country in Hearts of Iron 4. It's in most historical games, well, all historical games, it will join the Allies, and its job really is to sort of facilitate the other Allied nations, providing them equipment and providing them fuel, and generally being sort of the shopping market for the Allies. At the same time, it's very important in terms of providing air to the Allies, and hopefully to in the aims to win the air war, and one of the key proponents for D-Day. It at face value looks like a very powerful nation. It's got already 160 factories, 105 of which are civs. However, it is constrained by its national focuses and national problems like the Great Depression, which means that it is extremely difficult to build new industry early on, and because of its isolationism, it's also very difficult to fully mobilize and exploit your civ count. This means that although at face value you've got lots of factories and civs, and you are a powerhouse actually in terms of how the gameplay works, you're often rather far behind, limited by your own focuses. At the same time, because of the actual strategic requirements, a lot of your industry will be going into things you probably don't really want to go into. Like, a lot of players think, okay, I'm just going to make loads of tanks, or I'm just going to Navy, but because of the strategic requirements in supporting your allies, supporting the Soviets, you'll often have to put a lot of your industry into supporting them, and this can in turn delay your ability to D-Day and form a decent invasion force. One of the big problems I find in a lot of multiplayer games is you end up being tied down to the ceaseless demands of your allies, and in the attempt of doing everything, protecting Japan, going to North Africa, and all of that, you end up achieving nothing. So one of the key things the United States is supposed to do is land lease fuel and planes to both the UK and the air controller. In most cases, it'll probably be the UK or Canada, depending on the situation, but I think the meta's changed a bit now, and Canada is no longer the usual go-to air controller. As in consequence, as you know, that for my D-Day video, you're going to need a lot of air, and so you're going to already spend about 100 factories or so just trying to win the air war, and that already drains you out. At the same time, you'll be having to keep an eye on Japan, because you want to preserve the oil reserves over here, the rubber reserves over here, to prevent Japan taking them and losing the air war. As I've always said, for the Allies, your main focus is D-Day, and as such, what you're trying to do is put as many resources into assisting D-Day, or putting as little resources in the Pacific to contain Japan. Really what you're trying to achieve is just containing Japan, not really trying to knock them out of the war, because you're going to waste too much time chasing after them, and really just going to be really Japan's job is to drag you away from D-Day. It's like that meme with the boyfriend and his girlfriend, and the boyfriend's looking at that other girl and the girlfriend's all pissed off. Well, the pissed off girlfriend is Germany or northern France, and the other girl is Japan. And a Japan player's main goal is to attract attention away from D-Day, and that is by being aggressive and trying to take islands and just generally being a nuisance. And in consequence, what you're trying to do is counter that and not get too sucked into the Pacific theatre. And so what this build will be a containment build rather than a beating Japan build. Equally, a lot of mistakes are made by players. They all think it's a single player game. They think they're the protagonist. They don't understand the wider requirements. And other mistakes USA players make is they just build themselves, be rather selfish with their civs and their economy and their resources. And in consequence, this tends to mean that the rest of the allies struggle, and this can be proving a rather big problem. So our main considerations as USA is assisting the UK, making sure the convoy is getting across, making sure they're getting enough fuel, making sure they're getting enough air, while at the same time containing Japan, and in preparation for D-Day. So our research focuses, one in construction. This we're going to hard research fighter twos. In most multiplayer games, you can get a production license from Australia, and this will make things faster. But you do get a penalty to the amount you can produce under production licenses, so you still need to push a research slot into fighters. Then we're going to research Naval Bombers for the containment strategy, and then we're going to hard research tanks. Right, first things first, we're not going to hard research tanks. We're going to, in fact, hard research. Actually, we will hard research tanks to get an amphibious tank. And instead, we'll have to put this elsewhere. Because as a requirement for the allies, so I try and simulate my single-player games as close to multiplayer as possible. As a requirement for the allies, you will be having to put some investment in your navy to basically prevent the sub-spam. So in consequence, you're going to have to spend a lot of time investing in that. However, with this build, the idea is to not go too heavy into navy and just use the bombers and the copious amounts of bombers on all the islands in the Pacific and the Philippines, just to whittle away Japan's convoys. So if Japan does want to do a Pacific war, they're going to have to need to get air superiority, which they're not going to be able to achieve. And even if they do land in, say, the Philippines or Borneo or wherever, they're just going to end up getting bombed to death by naval bombers. So next step, we're going to put our infrastructure to upgrade our aluminium. So we're going to find our largest aluminium providing reserve, which is this, Texas. Find our next aluminium reserve, which should be that's 80, 42, 35, this is 42, 35, and why not put it into here as well. Now, some people will build dockyards at this stage because there's no penalty for it, but with this build, I try and put as little into the Navy as possible, simply because A, I don't really understand the Navy meta, and B, you don't want to waste or dedicate too much of your resources into naval tech, because you're going to need as much tech as possible for D-Day. So our next step, we're going to put some into trains. This is a safe word. Some into trucks, about 3 into trucks, and then the rest we will put into. We don't really need anti-air because we're going to have air superiority, so we're going to put the rest into our guns and support equipment. From there, we will go down continue the New Deal. So this is really old meta. Well, this is really old. Basically, you want to push down here to get rid of your Great Depression, and then whenever possible, push down here for the giant wakes. Most multiplayer games, the Axis will keep an eye on world tension to prevent you getting the giant wakes, so it can be quite difficult to achieve. Next, we're going to trade with the UK for rubber, just to boost them, and we're going to trade with the Soviet Union. Actually, we'll trade with South Africa. I used to be the proponent for a very old YouTuber called Dustin L. He always thought that the best strat for the USA was a mill switch in 39. But I feel after a while, understanding the meta a bit more, I realised that was a bad idea, because if you mill switched in 39, by the time you maxed your industry or maxed your production, you would not be able to really beat back the Axis air until a certain period of time, meaning that it's very difficult it takes longer to establish air superiority, which is a bad thing. The new good thing, or the great thing about the new DLC is that the USA can get naval experience very easily, but it struggles to get military XP, which will prove a problem. But now it's just a case of going down, continue a new deal. Once this is done, we'll probably send an attaché to Spain if possible, and failing that, then we will probably end up investing in a military advisor. So yeah, continue the new deal. Wow. So continue the new deal. We're going to select our superior, which is going to give me the largest amount. So I can't select any of these yet because I don't have enough of this. So instead, what I will do is I will get the financial expert. Now, people say silent workhorse, but I don't bother. Probably should be doing silent workhorse, but I don't bother. You know, we don't bother that sort of stuff. So immediately going to rush down to WPA and carry on. So a lot of the time, most hosts will play the USA because it's very unlikely that you'll capitulate as USA or get capped. And so the host can play away rather absently while the rest of the game unfolds. That prevents sort of the host getting, annexed too early than leaving the game. So our next research focus will be in the depth charge thrower. And that will be our main... then we can start building our main fleets. At the same time, I'm just going to delete these. I suppose you could wait, but I'm just going to delete them. Start spamming out convoys. Can't spam out Mulberry Harbours yet, sadly, but eventually we will be able to. But I'm trying to invest as little IC or a little construction or points as possible into Navy, so I can focus entirely on D-Day, which can be quite a boring build. But as I was saying, most of the time hosts will play the USA or newer players, and this can be a bit of a trap because a lot of new players will play the USA, not really understand what their role is, and in consequence they will normally let the team down. I would say that actually, I tend to find that the USA, really the Allied leaders should be the USA. I know the UK goes to war first, but the USA is so much more important and so much more relevant in terms of actually being able to do anything as the USA, as the Allies. Primarily, you probably should be listening to the USA player over the UK player after a certain period of time. The USA players are so important, and in consequence, you can get quite easily bullied by. What should I invest in now? So this is done. We're not going to bother researching this anymore. We've done our build for this, and now we're going to go elsewhere. So with our extra research slot, we're probably going to be investing in. Oh, let's get this out of the way for the extra research bonus, and we're going to hold off. Actually, we can't hold off. We're going to do silent workhorse for the XP game. And you can be quite easily bullied by the Allies and the Soviets into doing stuff which isn't really optimum, and then you've lost because you've spread out your resources too wide. Only reason I'm doing this is for the crypto, for D-Day. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother. And then we're going to build civs in our newly produced 100 infrastructure regions. So why are we putting infrastructure here? It's for the aluminium. So because the air is going to get so ridiculously large, the demands for air is going to be so ridiculously large, you're going to have no real choice but to invest in your aluminium to feed the rest of the Allied air effort. So that's why we're going so heavy into investing aluminium in these sectors. So I've researched this, this is construction next. doing construction as fast as possible. So higher construction means, of course, faster, more civs. Got our spy. Our spy can go anywhere. Let's see if we got a good spy. Yeah, let's put a spy in Germany. Why not? Keep an eye on this. Also, you get a little bit of RNG here. A little bit of RNG, but nothing too bad. And we're going to be training our troops up to get that military XP as soon as possible. I know you'll be at a deficit, but it's necessary. So we've already researched our first agriculture. We're going to do our next research slot because you need all your research slots. And again, this is the deception of the USA. You've got all these research slots. You're thinking, oh, I can do whatever I want, but actually, a lot of your strategic obligations will mean that you have to research stuff you normally wouldn't want to research. Form department. That's great. Invest in radio interception. Set up our crypto in Germany. And continue on. So it's time to start building the civs up where possible. So these 100 area regions. There's our electromechanical engineering. We're going to keep going down here for the extra radios, for the extra breakthrough. And before I forget, now we can build our DDs. So with our level 2 destroyers, a thing we've got to take into account is speed. So depending on the subtech, normally submarines are restricted to level 2 in most multiplayer games, but depending on the submarines, if your ships aren't fast enough, you won't actually be able to get to them in time to do enough damage. But that's why you're going to sort of put as much possible into making a sub-hunter rather than an actual decent destroyers for the enemy navy, because if we're doing an air, if we're doing marine bombers, then we don't really need to. So we can do this fellow, extra submarine attack if possible. That goes up to 25. If I get rid of this, let's see what happens here. Okay, let's bring this up to 25 again. Let's add our sonar. And let's add our fire control systems. Actually, let's not bother because we don't need it. It needs one light gun, but as long as it's just to make it work. But there we have it. This will be our destroyer hunter. It goes 38 knots, which is lovely and fast. It's got some decent depth charges, and it's got the sonar for sub detection. So this will be the first ship we're going to use en masse. The next thing we're going to build is a light cruiser. So first thing you do is you wipe all of these out. Once again, these are destroyer hunters, nothing more, nothing less. Literally just there to hunt destroyers. So it's going to be a 1 light battery, light armor, light secondaries or no secondaries if possible, engine 2, sonar, get rid of the fire control, or can't, remove the air, and remove this if possible. Let's get rid of that. So we need, again, that 38 knots. We need that high speed to hunt down the subs and destroy them before they can basically run away from us and extract from the combat. So I'm going to check to see if I can do any submarine stuff, which I can't. And that will be part of our escort cruiser. So it's got its 38 knots. It's got an okay range. It'll be garbage against anything else, but this will be used to assist in convoy support. So immediately we just take a few boys off there. Now we have a little drink of our little fizzy water, but the big issue of USA, not D-Day, is that it takes ages to do anything. And I mean ages. So we've got this up. We're going to do convoy escorts because this is going to be entirely just for convoys for D-Day, for that extra sub detection. And then once we get to here, we should be pretty safe. We've got our second research slot. We're going to do Neutrality Act next to boost up our support from the States. And we're going to use our next research slot to invest in Naval Bombers. They're going to keep the basic CAS for now. You could go for their more expensive CAS, but we're going to go for the basic CAS because you'd hope that the Allies, maybe the UK, would invest some in CAS and some in TAC for you, so you don't have to be researching 4 different air wings at once. But it's something you've got to discuss with your fellow players, otherwise they're just going to ignore you, or they're not. You're going to be like, "Has anyone got any CAS?" And they'll be like, "No," and then there'll be a awkward silence, and then they'll say, "Oh, I thought you were doing CAS." It's like, "No, I wasn't." So the next thing we'll discuss is about civ greed, as the USA. It'll be very tempting once you start trading out a lot to always do what these tell you. So Kansas wants one of these. So there's Kansas. It'll be very tempting to just like go limited exports or export focus and not have to trade out. But this then starves the Soviets and it starves the rest of your allies. Really, if you're being a caring USA and you want to diffuse responsibility, then you probably should be. Then you probably should be going free trade as long as possible to make sure everyone else is getting their stuff and getting more powerful. Very easy to be a civ greeder and not assist your allies, and that means that the game becomes much more dependent on you and can be a bit of a problem. So we can go down Arsenal of Democracy now, or if we wanted to, we could go down, say, War Plans Division as Chief of Army, get that extra military XP. We're going to go down the War Plans Division right now, so we can get another... Oh, actually, is that Chief of Army, is it? I've already got a Chief of Army, haven't I? I do, so that's pointless. That's a waste of time. War Department. We could do a War Department now. We may as well. And at the same time, let's be looking at other things we can do with our PP. Might as well get this War Industrious guy early, otherwise we'll end up forgetting to do it. And the great thing about this new DLC is that the Navy aspect is very easy for the USA to Navy up now, which is great news. So we're going to keep on going up crypto. And this is only for D-Day. The only reason why we're doing this crypto is so once we do a D-Day, you can simulate popping this and then trying to land with the extra bonuses this gives you. As you can see, invasion penalty minus 15%, planning speed plus 15, breakthrough bonus plus 15. It gives you a lot of good bonuses, so it's very important at least one nation is doing this. And it might as well be the USA. Try and do as much as possible but on your own terms, rather than having to rely on other players, because they just let you down. We're going to save up our PP now. Hopefully send a guy out to... Hopefully send a guy out to... what's the word? As a military attaché. There we are. So this is done. Now we can go to building civs to about March 38. Where's some 80 provinces? There's an 80 province, so there we are. 80 province, 100 province, 100 province. And that should mean we're now cracking out a lot of aluminium, which we are. 327, which is great news. So we've done our war plans department. We can't do this yet, so what should we do next? We can do this fellow. We can do the Two Oceans Treaty, but I'll put guys in opposition, and we don't really need that many naval factories. So in fact, I think we will just start going down the Arsenal of Democracy for just for Pete's sake. Now, I did see a rather interesting build a while back where you can completely invalidate. Oh, hello, what's this? You can completely invalidate the Pacific Theatre. The only really reason why you're actually fighting the Pacific is to preserve the rubber resources. So what you can do as the USA is you can just build refineries out the arse in your own country and then make a load of rubber, and then you'll never have to worry about Japan, and it basically means Japan has absolutely no game impact. The key problem with that is that you waste a research slot in rubber refineries, and you waste a lot of construction on rubber in your own country, and this sort of delays your ability to D-Day as early as possible. So we've got to keep an eye on this, but we're pretty healthy right now. We can just chill and cool. I could try and send an attaché here, but normally it just collapses so quickly. It's just not really worth the investment. Hopefully I can get enough of this. I wonder if I can do any fancy war economy stuff. Of course, if you want to, you can pop these to get extra research. You can also pop these for even more production and aluminium, but you want to be saving your PP until like you need it. So right now we've got the Arsenal of Democracy. This should allow us to pop the fair labour standards. This is also a bit of a preemptive move as well, because sometimes in multiplayer games you only have a split second to go to war economy before the world tension collapses again, so you want to make sure you're researching that as quickly as possible. So you're literally just one focus away, otherwise you can end up being solidly cucked. It's going to take me ages to build up. Probably because of Dwight D. Eisenhower, but hey ho. And now we can chill. Good thing about the amphibious tank chassis is they're actually pretty quick to research now. They're not going to take you like 5 years to do, which is great news. My kingdom for some command power. There you are, your radio detection. Final one, and then we can start researching our soft attack units and our marines as well. Let's not forget the great and glorious marines. This is almost done, so let's research this one more time. And there you are. You have your convoy escort protection nation. This is great. This will stop sub-spam in its tracks. The sad thing is that your navy will be pretty garbage, but that's why you're going to be relying on the Naval Bombers to do your dirty work for you. Suppose I could have my air up as well. Just doing some exercises. There you are, Japan's declared war on China, that's great for me. Let's do Scientist Haven for that next research slot. Keep an eye on this to make sure we still got a majority, which we do. And we continue to wait. There you are, there's our amphibious tank chassis. Next thing we do is we start researching the armour and basic engines. And this will be that dedicated research slot, because this is entirely a D-Day based build. Insofar as that, you're probably going to end up having a shit garbage tanks, but hey ho, it is what it is. This build will let you land on D-Day, but it's not going to do anything. But you're going to have to rely on the rest of your allies to bring some tanks. Okay, we've got 300 PP, so we may as well invest it in something else, like 5% soft attack. About 10% reliability. Let's go for that 5% soft attack. Just keeping our PP over 100, so that's in case we do get some command power anytime soon. We can do something of value. There's already 200 civs, but hey ho. Okay, Florida always do these. Might as well. It keeps you from. Oh, it's not that bad not doing it, you know. And plus, you don't want to not do it and end up getting the good news and not being able to go to your next production. There's our Scientist Haven, so we can immediately use that on our artillery pieces to get that improved medium howitzer. This is all done. If you want, you can research nuclear technology, but I tend not to bother. It's quite a high-risk strat to do, but normally most multiplayer games don't last till 1944, so it's not really relevant. This is done now. We can't do anything in this area for any time soon. We could go down here for the Wear Group and extra political advisors production, but actually we're probably going to be going down over here instead. Let's get some of that command power up. What else should we invest in? Planes. Let's do some light fighters. I do like Naval Bombers, but again, it's all about D-Day, so. So this is the best simulation I can do. Unfortunately, you can't. It's not. The AI is still not completely streamlined, and in consequence, you're not going to have. You're not going to have, you know, the Australia doing Fighter 2 rushes and things like that. And so, it's the closest simulation I can do to rushing Fighter 2s for you. Normally, you'd have Fighter 2s at this stage already. There we are, fully decrypted. This is great for us, so that's ready to go. We don't have to worry about that any longer. We'll finish this off just in case they do any more investment into their cyber. And we aren't even going to bother touching our tanks yet until I'm ready to start producing them. There you are. I should keep the Senate happy. Okay, I've done our war plans division. Can we go down over here any further? Nope. So let us go over and do Intervention of Europe for that extra command power gain. Because I have realised in this latest patch that it's very difficult for the USA to get army exercises up to any higher. Okay, there's our radar. We no longer have to research that, and this can now start going into our Marines. So we can't research this Marine up any more. It's quite a long one to do, so instead we will research Special Forces level 2. I still can't send an attaché over these fellows because of the great curse of having no command power. We're not going to modify Officer Corps yet. And we're just going to keep on hovering between the two. I'm not even going to bother investing in heavy tanks. I'm just going to hope the South Africa player does it. If I need to in a multiplayer game, I'll just boost the South Africa player, or I'll boost the Canada instead, because I'm going to focus entirely on getting that D-Day, which can be quite dangerous, but I'm hoping that this would be enough in this build to land, and then the rest of my allies can really do the heavy lifting. So it's January 38. This is where you've really got to start considering mill switching. You would have Fighter 2s at this stage, but sadly not in single player. But this is just to simulate a multiplayer game. So as soon as it gets to March, February, March, February, May. Put one factory. You're going to start investing massively in mills. The reason why you're investing massively in mills now is because you need to make sure you've got enough air in the bank to land lease to the Allies. So I'm going to wait to the very last second before I do a mill switch. Before I start putting my factories on. What do I do with my artillery? Oh god, where's my artillery gone? That's not good. There we are. Next. So War Plan Red we will do later on. This will be just before D-Day, we'll research this. So you get that even bigger bonus for attacking Germany. But for now, we're going to keep on going down the other areas. So if I do this, I may get gimped. I could, of course, start researching this for the Navy, so actually I'm going to bother doing that now. Might as well. And we've got a new spy, which we can just dump over here. Our Navy does no longer need to do any training. It's done its job. You can just sit back and relax. Next research will be over here for the improved medium howitzer, and once that's done you can send that research elsewhere. To make that soft attack to land, you need really the main focus is landing. Probably shouldn't have that much soft attack. You may just want to use a medium cannon in your Marines, but for this we're going to assume that you just want a guaranteed D-Day. There you are, improved armor, improved engines. We're going to pop this to be on the safe side. And it's March time, so now we've got really no choice but to start mass producing our fighters. At which point you start closing this down as much as possible. And you immediately try and pump out 100 fighters. And then afterwards, in your second priority, it will be CAS, of which you'll probably want about 30. And then it'll be your Naval Bombers, but we're not going to bother researching our Naval Bombers yet. There we are. I can now send a land lease to China, or send an attaché to China. And that should be enough to feed my Army XP. And I can now start researching more important things like, I don't know, industry. I want to research this, but I can't. Oh well, what a shame. What a shame. Let's build a munition plant in Nebraska, why not? So Nebraska, where are you? Where are you, Nebraska? This game's great for showing you like where you have to learn where states are. There it is, there's Nebraska. One in Nebraska, that's good. And this is going to be your majority. This is why it can be so difficult as the Allies to, as the USA to do anything, because so much of your investment is just trying to assist the Allies, which means that a large proportion of your Navy or your just general economy is stuck behind assisting in that war effort. We've got loads of PP, why not just spend it on superior firepower specialists? Just start investing your PP away, may as well. You may as well. We're also going to change these guys, make sure they are the crappiest troops available. Because these guys are going to be what we're going to use to pad up our Marines, pad up our Marine numbers. Special Forces Modifier 1. I'm going to do this one for Special Forces Multiplier Cap +2. I'm going to have to hard research it, unfortunately. And there's our Federal Housing Act. At this stage, we can now go to the Giant Wakes, which is rather convenient, and then use our last PP to go to partial mob. Fine, Louisiana, you're going to get one civ. Where are you, Louisiana? I suppose you could actually meta this because they only ask for buildings where there's empty build slots, so you could just meta this and build everywhere apart from a high resource area, but it seems a bit RNG-y. So our naval tech is ridiculously high. This is great thing about the USA, but with this build you're not going to be using a lot in your navy, which is great for people who aren't too knowledgeable about navies. Yes, unfortunately, the Dustinel strat was not a good idea because, well, a good idea in theory because you would fill up all your build slots by 1940, but because the production took so long, it meant that you didn't really see any profit from this until late 41, mid 42, and at that stage, most D-Day walls had already gone too big, and so. And plus, you won't be able to get enough planes to help the Allies, so that's all fell by the wayside. Unfortunately, Dustinel became somewhat of a casualty of the HOI4 community, but I don't think he did himself any favours. Because he came up with wonderful meta ideas, and I think he was too forceful about it. He said, this is 100% going to work, whereas I don't. I just say, this is what I do. Feel free to tear it apart. But hey-ho. So we're researching. We've done our 105mm guns, so we've got that improved medium howitzer now, so we don't have to worry about this build slot anymore. And now we can focus on more important things like, I don't know, let's take a look. Oh yeah, making sure you research this fellow so you can get the floating harbours, which is a nice thing to have. But you can see you're having to rush a lot of researches very far ahead of time, and that unfortunately means that your research, you're limited by so many obligations you need to make, and you can't do everything. You can't dedicate so much research to Navy, you can't dedicate so much research to Air and Army, and so you've got to make a sacrifice. And so I tend to sacrifice to the Pacific Theatre and instead rely upon my excessive Navy, my excessive Marine Naval Bombers. So you can go wartime industry, or you can go military construction. Let's go military construction. And then let's immediately go to partial mob. I believe there are some lobbies that ban or prevent the USA from going giant wakes too soon, but I think that's not very fair because most of the time world tension is caused by Axis players, and so it's a bit of an Axis biased rule. If you didn't want world tension to go too high before a certain date and stop invading Yugoslavia, you know, but unfortunately that's sometimes what happens. So yeah, that's one way they try to limit the USA's involvement, because if USA gets involved too early, the game becomes very stacked in the Allies' favour, and so most lobbies will prevent you from joining the war until, say, until 6 months after the fall of France, or Gibraltar gets taken and Alexandria gets taken, or after Japan declares war. And that prevents the USA getting too powerful. So you're going to be seeing a lot of action until really 1940-41. Well, until the fall of France. So here we are. We're already 30 factories in. The reason why I switched construction is because I want that production higher. You're going to need at least 100 factories on air. At least 100 factories, depending on how hard the Axis go. And of course, you can check to see how hard the Axis goes by just doing this. Okay, how many factories have got in there? He's got 8. Of course, in a multiplayer game, this guy would be churning that shit out. Anyway, you've got your aircraft, fighter 2s now. You can in fact upgrade them now. Let's give them engine. Unfortunately, you can't upgrade them that much because you can't, it's just unsimulatable. But hey ho, we're not going to invest in tactical bombers. I'm going to assume in multiplayer in a multiplayer game, I'd be asking the UK to invest in some tax, or I'd be asking Australia to invest in some tax. Just a nation to invest in some tax. Instead, I'm going to be focusing on the CAS, the Mariners, and the fighters. UCAS projects are done. Let's finish this bad boy off. And we can just continue to chill as we continue to constantly build up our mills into a ridiculous level. But even though it looks good, it's not, because you're still very heavily limited by, you guessed it, the obligations to your allies. So this is what you're going to keep on standby for D-Day, along with that focus, which allows you to go war plan, black, or whatever it was. Yeah. And that will allow you to hopefully stack the numbers in your favour. So we've done this now. This is all done. We no longer have to look at this rather tedious thing anymore. You can go over here and start, say, increasing our soft attack for our Marines. Then once that's done, we can start researching general equipment and all that lovely stuff. You can already see why some people would be tempted to go to limited exports now, or not limited exports, export focus, but this is benefiting your allies. So actually, this is bad meta. You want to be getting it from the UK. And from the Soviet Union, which we're going to buy en masse now, so I don't have to look at it anymore. Actually, no, it's bad meta to do that as well, because you want to eke out as much production as possible. Commandos, yep. USAS projects, yep. Now what to do next? So you can go down wartime industry if you so desire, converting mills to converting civs to mills, which I don't really recommend, but it does give you General Motors, which is nice. I'm not going to bother because I just don't want to bother, and instead I'm going to research Air Plans Division, which allows me quicker production. And then I'm going to pop this to do some lobbying so I can eventually get the other act for the army. So that is why you're researching a lot into aluminium and things like that, because you're going to run out basically. Dispersed industry, going down the next one. It's now 1939. I am churning out 3 fighters a day. I had hoped for some more, but eventually once it gets to max production, you'll be living the easy life. Bop. There we are. Pretty much running out of rubber, so we'll get it from... Ooh. Any other allies we can get rubber from? Not really, no, so we'll have to get it from British Malaya. And there you have it. 65 factories on air. Bearing in mind that the Germany player will probably have about at least 100 factories, and the air will probably be a lot better because of the volunteers they sent. Equally, I need to make sure I've got my Mariners ready to go, so the Mariners are going to be second on the list for 30 factories on my Mariners, and we're going to upgrade these Mariners to have increased range. But this is why you don't wait until 1939 to build mills, because you're not going to get enough production out to feed the Allies. And what you could do if you're feeling devilish is even as soon as you get fighter twos, just putting all your research into fighter twos as soon as possible, rather than waiting until March 38. But that's a consideration you need to make, whether or not you're happy to do that or not. Okay, hello, Commando. Just do some silent, quiet intel networks. We're rapidly running out of aluminium, so just to nip that in the bud, we are going to start investing in aluminium production here, here, and here. There's our Marines too. We can now invest in our... See, I thought logistics gave breakthrough, but I'm not sure if they do. I'm not going to bother investing in logistics, I'm just going to research this for extra breakthrough. Yeah, plus 10% amphibious, so let's research those engineers. Because I want to stay as much into free trade as possible, just to assist my allies. And there we are. Can I do any more investment in aluminium? Yes, I can. Guess what I'm going to do? Damn straight, it's all about that aluminium. Now if we take a look at our allies, or soon-to-be allies, they've got 30 factories on air, these guys have got 12. So normally UK would probably have about 50 factories on air, probably more with the amount of boosting you'd get on a free trade USA, and so you're sort of helping them to balance it out. Let's do Louisiana maneuvers next. Unless I can do land lease act, but I don't think I can yet. No, what a shame. There's our advanced armor. And then let's do our advanced engines. Can we fart out even more aluminium? Sadly not. Not yet anyway. Another thing you should be doing in most multiplayer games is making sure you restrict your convoy routes. So if I'm going to be sending land lease to UK, I'm maybe sending my fleet over here and restricting the convoy routes. Same over here as well, unless you're going to hold the islands. If you're going to hold the islands, then you probably want to keep those going, but I would recommend holding the islands just to be on the safe side, especially if you've got your maritime bombers. Because if they do a sub-heavy Japan, you just blow them out of the water. Once more, investing in aluminium. Let's do our production now. There we are, now we've got a positive of 10. Let's put these guys in, these guys in, these guys in, yeah, everywhere. And now we can wait until D-Day, but I suppose we'll do another investment. Let's just get War Plan Black out of the way, just to make sure we're happy with what we've got. Make sure we don't forget to do that. At the same time, if you can afford any more troops, sadly you won't be able to, try and start investing in that. But, oh crap, I've forgotten to do something very important. Bad mildly. Hopefully I can research in time. And that will be our Amtracs. Okay, imagine that I'd invested in Amtracs and wasn't a potato. I suppose you could always buy it off the Brazil player. Sometimes Brazil players like to do Amtracs, so it's not the end of the world. So we've got this, that's our multiplier done now. We can now start researching other things. We can chill. Because again, you won't be really D-Daying until mid to late 41, early 42. That's that fellow done, so we no longer have to worry about landing or naval invasions anymore. This whole area is done now, we no longer have to worry about any of this, and we can start doing those harbours, which are pretty garbage, if I'm honest with you. Pretty bad. But now we can research our harbours. There you are, our floating harbours. Let's start investing in them. You don't need a lot. Just some. Because these guys just don't give you fuel, which I find idiotic. Like, I can't believe these guys just don't give you fuel. Okay, we've got our Havocs. So immediately switch out and go to upgrade our Havocs. Next thing we do is we could try upgrading these. Let's upgrade these to give them more reliability, more weapons, more reliability. There you go. Let's start investing in extraction because we're going to need that because we're going to be running out of aluminium. And let us start researching. So this is guns, this is production. Let's start researching. Improved artillery, that extra soft attack. Once again, running out of aluminium like it's nobody's business. There's War Plan Black. There you go, war starts. Can't do the Land Lease Act yet because we can't. And also because we don't have enough senators in favour, which is again pretty newbie in regards to in regards to myself. But fortunately I can't do this until a major dies anyway. So we'll just keep an eye on that. So it is now 1939. I've already got 3,000 fighters ready to give to the Allies, hopefully allowing them to get air superiority depending on how good these fighters are. I'm massively trading, boosting up my allies as well. And I'm hopefully getting enough aluminium to continue to feed myself. There we go. I guess got these guys back in our good books. Can I do this now? I can do it soon. Yes, I could keep an eye on that. So, you normally won't be allowed to land lease the UK straight away because it's a bit unfair. But what you can do is, depending on the rule set, once France falls or once whatever happens, you can start land leasing. So depending on the rule set, you might be able to land lease straight away. Other rule sets, you won't be allowed to land lease until the fall of France. So let's assume that I can't land lease until the fall of France. Because 2,000 fighters coming in is broken, basically. What can I trade with now? Let's trade with Canada. You know it's desperate when you're trading with Canada. Is France dead yet? Nope, of course not. There you are, January 41. Oh, let's turn on Fog of War for you. Watch the Germans as steamroll through the Allies. I'm rapidly running out of stuff. This is a good thing about free trade, USA. Everyone gets to eat, so to speak. There you are, German panzers are ploughing on through. Okay, that should be France out the picture soon. Look, wow, okay. Yeah, keep going up artillery, why not? What a blitzkrieg, wow. This is why USA can be boring. Imagine doing this for free. It's already been an hour of gameplay and already USA players are sitting there going, I can't wait to do nothing this entire game. It's also one of the great risks if, like, say, France holds, then it's a great risk of the game ending after you're waiting 3 hours of doing nothing, basically. You're milling out the arse. Because we're free trade as well, we get that extra 15% construction rate, which is nice. But now, if we just pause the game and tag over to the UK to see how much factories they're getting from trade, and they're getting a whopping 26 from me. Probably from me. Or 16, I think it was 16. There's Land Lease Act. Let's pop that. France is still holding, much to my chagrin. France, please. There we are. Construction. There we are. That's a bit weird, but let's not think about it too much. Immediately start land lease. So let's imagine that the UK player or the England is the Allied air controller. I'm going to give you all of these. I'm going to give you all of these. 1,000. And I'm going to give you 20, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to give you 500 convoys. And I'm going to give you all the fuel you could possibly want. There you are, he says. I'm going to give you actually 700. And that should feed them. Now you'll just be feeding them air for pretty much the rest of the game, and not really switching off until later on in the campaign. So right now we're producing a whopping 16 fighters a day. And we're going to be giving the UK an awful lot. And with that 100 factories, we're just going to keep 100 factories on this until the air war is won, which will normally, hopefully, be the end of 41. Now we can watch over here, watch the UK just faff about doing very little of anything. Also, you'd be giving the UK docking rights, but I don't think they'll... There you are. So they can convoy escort, and as a USA, you'll be sitting back twiddling your thumbs going, I can't wait to participate. In the meantime, chill out, enjoy. Have yourself a cup of tea, a cup of coffee. Begin investing in other things, I don't know. You could, I suppose, invest in tanks now, but just buy the South African tanks. Let's invest in recon. Why do I have so little mills? It's because this, I believe. Yeah, this. Good, we can trade in those terms. So Germany will have how much in air now? 28 factories, but in the real game they'd have an awful lot more. I'm going to start researching our Amtraks now. And we're going to see how much we're land leasing to the Allies now. We've already given them 1,280 Cobras, 64 Warhawks, 40k fuel, and a load of convoys. There's a Land Lease Act, which we'd actually need to do, but hey-ho. So we can't join the war yet until 6 months after the fall of France. So what? They fell in February, so March, April, May, June, July, August. So we can't join until August. So, in the meantime, do the airborne divisions. Crack these out. So we can pad up our marine numbers. There's excavation. That should mean that we can hopefully have our aluminium sorted. Oh, the UK Naval invaded. I'm actually going to join a faction just to see what they're doing. I'm not actually going to join the war, but I can't join the faction because it's only 92% world attention, which is a bit weird. I will admit, it's a tad weird. I don't understand why that world attention is so low. I think that's a bug. Well, UK is doing a pretty good job anyway. So we're making 18 fighters a day. These will be crap fighters unless You've got land lease, so you've been upgrading them with fighters, not fighter twos. Well, upgrading your fighter twos, but it's just a point to consider that this is going to be a big sink for you for a large proportion of the game. I'm actually going to only invest in about 20, 5, 10, 15, 20 CAS. And then we can invest in close air support. But we're going to save before, because we're going to join the Allies next. There you go, the USSR is just faffing about, enjoy. Quite impressed by the UK's naval invasion, but not impressed by its disgusting lack of resources. So you could potentially be land leasing the UK guns as well, which is a point to consider. There's the airborne divisions. You can do United States or the Army. Out of crew population, which seems a bit of a waste. This is a D-Day build, but you probably should be investing in tanks. But I'm not going to bother. I'm going to assume that you're going to have Canada with his tanks and South Africa with his tanks, and you're just going to get that D-Day form. Fund the Navy, no thank you. Let's just do wartime industry while we wait. And this is the reason why you can't join these wars and multiplayer games is until like 6 months after the fall of France is to stop the USA just booming too quickly and just dabbing on you. Because if this is pre-boom, bear in mind, this isn't even war economy yet. And I'm on 323 factories. Norway's capped, what a shame. I'm doing excavation, that's great. I'm getting 50 factories from trade using the trade focus. Bear in mind, a lot of the trade in multiplayer will be going to the USSR, not you. That's something to bear in mind. A lot of the time, the Allies will be trading with the USSR to keep them afloat. Okay, let's join the faction. Let's not join the war just yet. Let's just see what they're up to. Recon company, great. Dispose of Thompson next. What a riveting gameplay. How much of my trade is going over to these fellows? So 2,340 air cobras have currently gone over to them. This is great news. And there's that dispersed industry again. Helping a brother out. Aluminium's really bad. But everything else is fine. Everything else is fine. Okay, it's August now. We can now join the war. So let's join it. And let us go to war economy, which will now make us uber powerful. You should also be garrisoning your regions just to prevent any meme invasions. It's unlikely you will get meme invaded, but it's just something you've got to consider just in case. So start garrisoning these fellows up. Garrisoning your ports over here. And garrisoning the rubber reserves, which you do not want to lose. There you have it. There's our garrisons. Put some on Wake Island. You probably want to spread these out because the AI is a bit potato. They will starve themselves to death on these islands, which you don't want to happen. Okay, and then the next step is the containment strategy. So this is containment. So the plan here is to basically contain the Japan by just dumping cannon fodder, org walls on the territories, and then using your naval bombers to effectively just harass the Japanese fleet if they ever actually try and move anywhere. Which is a bit of a sink, but it's better than building dockyards. So there's our naval bombers. Let's make sure we've got their range up some more and their reliability up some more. And there we are. You'll probably give this to your air controller, but hey ho. So it's August time. At this stage, you would hope that the Allies have, won the air war, so you can start switching your mills out for D-Day. So we're going to assume at this stage that the UK player has, won the war. He's got as much air as he could possibly want, and we can now start switching off into other things. So we're going to start easing off our air production to about 50, 60, 70, about 60 factories. This then will allow us to invest in other things like this fellow, our improved artillery, our support equipment. Don't really need that much artillery. We do need a lot of these guns for future reference, and we can start building up our tanks. So here's our beautiful tanks. We're going to do our breakthrough tanks for D-Day. So medium tank turret with the 3-man turret. Next, the medium armaments, the improved howitzer. Radio, improved radio for that delicious extra 45% breakthrough. Special modules, sloped armor. Special modules. Extra defense and extra breakthrough, and you guessed it, extra breakthrough. You don't really need speed for D-Day. It's going to be via the sea, so you can have reliability, or you can go for the petrochemical, which is very expensive. So you can do this for the 15% breakthrough. I'm probably just going to go for gasoline or the diesel for reliability. So the diesel is going to be it. Max speed is pretty garbage for me, which is just generally cheaper. Let's go for this. Upgrade the engine. Upgrade the armor. And that should be enough for what we need it for. 26 production, not bad. I'm happy with that. We could increase this some more, but look at the reliability on that. That's garbage. So we do have to bear that in mind. And then finally, cast armor. Even though this will get penned regardless, but hey ho, it is what it is. Why do I have two extra ammunition storages? I should have a smoke one, but Yeah, we're going to go for the smoke instead. And that should give us 42% reliability. Not good reliability, but then again, they're just going to be for landing purposes. They're not really going to be used for anything else. And I am tempted to put more into reliability, just to get it around 50%. And there we are. That's more reliable. 51% reliability. You got to, you know, it is what it is. You got to deal with it. And there's our amphibious tanks. So we'll start cracking these out. Start investing in, I don't know, army logistics. Wartime industry. Actually, you probably didn't want to do that. You probably should have invested in the tactical bombers for that extra ground support. So we're going to be doing that instead. And that's a massive waste of PP, but hey ho, it is what it is. Destroy for bases. I can't be bothered with that. Let's do air support. Yeah, I'll take your land lease, even though that's not realistic. No one's going to ever be land leasing to you. But before you move your factories off your air, just want to keep an eye on the Germany's air to see how much they've still got committed to their air support. And you want to check your allies' air to see how much they've still got committed to their air for their air production. And then you've got to, you know, do the maths. So you probably want to have 20 to 30% more factories than the allies, than the Germans have. Yeah, join the war, have fun. Also, if you're worried about fuel, so if I tag England, for example, normally a multiplayer, the AI will tell you, or the allies will tell you if you're having problems with things like convoys or air or things like that. So let's modify our land lease, give these guys even more. Let's give them 400. And let's keep padding these up. I'm going to start closing down production on my Marines. I don't invest too much in my Naval Bombers. Also, probably too much in artillery. Look, I've got so many artillery, it's not worth investing that much into it. And support equipment, we'll leave 15 factories on there for future reference. How is my research into LV2s taking too long? That's a mistake on my part. That's the point. If you're going to do mechanized, you want to be rushing that. Oh, look at that. Lovely. No longer have to trade so much. I will just keep boosting Canada. Why not? Also, at this stage, you can now be doing something a bit more important. How many fighters have I got in my reserve? Probably too many. So if I change this now to modify the land lease and change this to 100% and 100% of monthly production, that should mean they keep their convoys now and they don't have to weigh so much. With your fleet, you're going to be splitting these boys up. Finding the guy who does like convoy escorts. I'm just going to pick anyone. And then you're going to be setting them up to convoy escort all along here. About 87, 86% sort of convoy efficiency. Which isn't bad. Now we start desperately trading with other people. Like South Afrika. in preparation to get our tanks up to snuff. At the same time, we're going to start researching and upgrading our marine divisions, giving them the best equipment possible for what we need them for. I can't really use you, and that's going to be soft. Let's go with you. Support artillery, and change these to... You sort of memed me here, haven't you? What is small so I don't have to build a new one? This is... Remove, remove, remove. First thing first, let's change all of these to make sure they're garbage troops. Next, go back over here. Oh, that's big. Don't like big. There we are. Support artillery. Let's just go motorized recon. I don't want artillery. Remove, remove, remove. Amphibious tank, amphibious tank, amphibious tank, amphibious tank, amphibious tank. And then eventually, once we get our Amtracs, we will upgrade our Amtracs to... Oh, start adding Amtracs to this as well. Also, if you're feeling happy, you can potentially send... Oh, you can't actually send an attaché to your allies, I don't think. Which is a shame. Oh, you can. There we are. Let's send an attaché to buff our arm XP even more. This is not a good representation because Germany doesn't build any planes in vanilla, but you get the general idea. You're going to be pumping a lot of factories into air to feed, to win the air war, and you've just got to be paying attention, really. You've got to be paying attention to what the Germany player is, how much the Germany player or the Axis team is investing into their air. We can chill here now. There's nothing really else worth doing. I mean, we could research Marines some more. Well, our research tree is pretty much coming to an end. Yeah, join the war, Philippines, why not? So we have 700 maritime bombers, which is great. We have all the rubber we could ever want. And we have 73 factories being traded with, which is exceptional. Yeah, get that base war support. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, this is my ally starving. Why would I care about my ally starving? This is not my problem. As long as these guys aren't starving, I couldn't care less. Part more of these guys out. Literally their only purpose is to increase your special forces limit. And now you can chill. A very boring game, as you were saying. That's why I hope most hosts play it. We're going to have easy air superiority, where we should do, but the UK is not doing a very good job of being an air controller. But hey, it is AI, so there you go. There we are. This is finished. This is finished. Yeah, free trade. USA is quite powerful. It's good at spreading out the wealth to the rest of your allies, so you don't. So the game becomes more enjoyable for everyone, as well as giving everyone an opportunity to, you know, preventing you from accidentally starving your allies of things they need. Okay, it's January 41. Our equipment is very low in terms of guns and so on. So we're going to add some more guns. And we're going to add some more support equipment. And then we are going to start preparing our defenses. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start putting up our air in these sectors. So you're going to normally have an air controller who's going to do this for you. Really? There we are. And you're going to have about 400 in each. With that reach, you're going to do copious amounts of damage to any fleet. And plus, if you wanted, you could potentially, you know, start bombing this where the Japan player likes to put his navy, which is great stuff. This is why you put your airfields up now. This is your time to shine. Put about 100 here. Another 100 here. You guessed it. The spreading amount. Where to next? Put 100 over here just in case anyone does try to do any sub-raiding. And there you have it. A nice little marine, a nice little nest of bombers or marine naval bombers that's ready to inflict pain upon anyone who dares to any Japan player who dares to try and do any Pacific fun. And this is, and you're gonna have even more by the time this is ready. So next production, make sure we've got these guys cracked out. Put about 30 on these. Start hard researching this. It's a bit late in the day, you probably don't want to bother doing that. Maybe if you weren't a pleb like me and actually had researched properly, then you probably could have done that, but anyhow. So next thing on the agenda is to build our Naval Invading Marines. So we're going to have our Amtrak, 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 Amtrak. That's 30 org. Amtrak, 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 Amtrak. That's 38 org. And then we're going to have Amphibious Light Tank, Amphibious Light Tank, Amphibious Light Tank, Amphibious Light Tank, and Amphibious Light Tank. And because we've still got 32 org, we're going to get rid of one of these and add another, you guessed it, Amphibious Light Tank. And with this, you're going to have mediocre armor, massive breakthrough, pretty good soft attack, and great hardness, meaning that you should overcome most offensives. Unfortunately, with armor these days, armor doesn't really, nearly all armor can get penned, but this is probably going to be the best D-Day unit you're going to get for the most part. Let's also make sure that this is high priority as well. No, that's garbage. What is this? Go away. And let's see how many we can train of these guys. We can train 3, which is not good. So I'm going to put our 3 over here. Another little sort of meta thing you can do is you can, one moment, ladies and gentlemen, is before you join the war on the side of the Allies, you can move some troops over to the UK, meaning that you don't have to move across and potentially get convoy raided. It's a bit gamey. I really, one of the key things was the Battle of the Atlantic, so if you want to LARP, then you probably don't want to move any troops over until you've joined the war. So there's our Marine Brigades all ready to go. We're going to keep on farting out troops like it's going out of business. And hopefully we should have enough troops on standby soon to do what we need to do. I'm going to make a new research slot for this, because I don't want to overdo it. I'm going to take off 10 more factories off our naval bombers. And we're going to continue to wait. How many days? How many days? How many days? 319 days. 116 days. It's a lot of days. There's not much you can do about it. That's a waste. That's a big old waste. There we are. And the reason why I'm not switching is to preserve my production line. Make sure our crypto is still cooked, which it is, which is great news. As the USA, you are really just doing not a lot of anything now. Didn't I say I was going to land lease you 100% of my fighters, and yet you're not land leasing 100% of my fighters? Because it's a new variant, so let's give you 7,000 of these. Here's a note, make sure if you're making new variants you're updating your land lease. There you are, have 7,000 of those bad boys. How much is this fellow making? Okay, now he's got 30 factories in there, that's good for you. Bit late in the day, but hey ho. Probably should have done that sooner. Oh well. Trade away, that's all I can say. Oh, 3 million of my fuel's been sunk. Interesting. United Kingdom has insufficient convoys. So I'm going to need to give you more convoys. And I'm going to reduce my land lease to your in terms of giving you fuel. Interesting. I'm just going to modify my land lease to give you 100% of my convoy production now. Okay. Let's not bother RAM tracking. Let's not bother with this. Let's not bother with this. Let's do survival training. Why not? This is why a lot of people don't play the USA, because it is boring. It's a boring game. Yeah, I said it. USA is boring. Okay, Japan's justifying. Oh no, what am I going to do? I guess I'll put out more air. Another thing you can do is get the UK to put up radar stations, just really improving this net even more and making it even more deadly. Okay. Fine, I'll give you this. Don't understand why you've got negative air. Like, you've got red air, but I don't know why. That's a form of AI. It just doesn't handle its oil very well. Or its land lease very well, or anything very well. Because you'd be able to coordinate with the UK controller saying, okay, I need this much air, I need this much convoys. Still a rather amusing game. 5 more from the Soviets. Showing out even more cannon fodder. Probably should have some more garrisons over here, really. This is something you should micro, but it's a meme game. Who cares? Well, it's a single player game, so you could take some troops off here, for example. Like, go. Oh, am I getting sunk? Oh no! And so this is what will happen, especially if the Japan player is not prepared. And he's still got troops on the islands. You're just going to get sinking after sinking after sinking after sinking. So this will decimate any sort of submarine build, and you'll just be able to sink convoys however you feel, at your leisure. Especially with radar, if you can get a UK player just to build your radar, you can just do this all day. Okay, what have we got over the Philippines? So there's a naval invasion. Probably should have a soldier up here. Rather important, I did have a soldier up here, but you can see that the bombers are just going to bomb this into the air. And if they do land, they're going to get bombed unless they take an airfield. I'm going to put another factory on this. We're going to start cutting down our factories here as well. Because you can't have that much in air the entire game. It's just not going to work. You just got to balance it out. You got to pay attention to what the Germany player is doing. But this is simulating me paying attention to the Germany player and seeing how much investment they're making. Oh no! Oh wow! I lost one convoy. Probably should tell my guys to stop training as well. And start researching actual techs. How's the production going? Pretty bad. In fact, really bad. I'm not producing anything really. So I'm going to have to cut back on some of my equipment production so I can start actually building some Amtraks. This can go into air production. I don't know if it's banned anymore, but if it is, just keep an eye on the rules. Let's keep an eye on the rules if it is banned or not. Okay, assembly line production's done. Let's invest in our Marines one final time. Anyone seeing a trend here? Oh look, there is some subs thinking me. Before I told you to stop training. Didn't see that coming. Okay, I've got 200 Naval Bombers in reserve. Where else should I put them? Put some more over in this sector. And I've got air at the arse, so guess what? Well, anything for Naval Bombers. Anything for Naval Bombers. Sadly not. This is probably not meta, but I don't care. You normally just give this to an air control and they know exactly what to do. Yeah, so you're going to get some naval invasions, or some attempted naval invasions. And none of them are really going to work. Okay, I'm running out of mills, running out of places. There we are. Construct. Construct away. There we are. Fine, I'll join your war. I don't know what war I joined, but I joined something. And this guy can be, I don't know, a commerce raider. I don't really care about navy. But really, the only reason why I built this navy is just literally just to protect against U-boats. Without 100% efficiency, so now I don't have to worry about U-boats in Germany. At the same time, our tanks are slowly getting improved, and our Amtrak's slowly getting improved, and we should have a D-Day hopefully by 42. Okay, start fighting out more troops. I want at least 10 divisions of these fellows for D-Day. Where's my boys? These are going to be the garbage troops for, you guessed it, da-da-da-da. D-Day. They're going to be my line fillers. Naval invasions. Any attempt at a naval invasion is going to get bombed to death. And if the Japanese player pulls out a 0, all you do is stick up your own air. Oh yeah, and I've forgotten something very important to do. So at this stage in the game, you're going to start land leasing the Soviets. So you're going to modify your land lease to cancel this, and then you're going to go click on these guys again, modify your land lease, give these guys about 50% of your fighters. And then you're going to give the Soviets the other 50% of your fighters. And you're going to give them also about 50% of your CAS production. And then you're going to give them a load of convoys. At the same time, you're probably going to send some guys out. Going to make a new theatre and make sure that this is getting protected. Hopefully the USSR will be intelligent and give you docking rights. There we are. And now you can continue at your own leisure. And there you have it. Not very good, but it'll get better over time. There you are. Here's a D-dit, or there's a landing attempt. Probably should have more Marines on this tile. So we're going to start sending them up. Really should have more troops on this tile. I don't know why all my troops have decided to blob over here. And potentially this is going to delete garrisons on here. That's a bad idea. That's not good. That's a bit of a meme now, isn't it? And there we are. Our playing is the USA. And there we are. Make sure we got all these garrisoned, which we do. And then we're going to garrison this. Oh yeah, we'll garrison this, just in case you do get meme invaded. Unlikely, but it's just something you've got to do. This is garrisoned. All the ports garrisoned before. Yes, they are. Okay, that's good. And I can go back to free speed. So you normally have more troops garrisoning this, but it's multiplayer, well, single player, so I don't care. You can see that any attempt at any naval invasions just get bombed consistently forever. Unless, of course, I take the airfield, and then you're going to have a bad time. And then you're going to panic and put up CAS just in case. Why can't I see my allies' tags? I don't know. This is where you start dumping all your air over here in a blind panic. This is a guide or sort of a talkthrough about the multiplayer aspects for the USA. Just things to consider and pay attention to. And this is a build for potential multiplayer games. So the reason why this failed was simply because I was a potato and I didn't bother to garrison this too much. And I can't see my troops in the Philippines. Hello, Collar. This is a bit frustrating. But you get a general idea. He does spamming naval bombers to sink everything in the Philippines and in the general region. And if you just keep spamming naval bombers, you can just keep sinking convoys to your heart's delight. Interesting. I can no longer see my troops. Yeah. This is a general. Let's play in the USA just to do a general overview. There will be some bugs and things like the naval bug and all that jazz, but you get a general idea once things are patched and sorted out. This is a certain thing you can do. Plus, with this build, you don't really focus on Navy, you just focus on containment. And instead use your Navy for submarine protection, for convoy escorts, and use the naval bombers to contain Japan, just using your air supremacy. So I didn't actually invest at all into my Navy, apart from destroyers for convoy escort and cruiser lights, and then the rest went into my naval bombers, which I had initially 30 factories on. But primarily, if the Japan player is going to have a really bad time against naval bomber spam, unless they really stack air, stack and anti-air in their fleets. But even then, they're just going to get convoys are just going to get bombed. So it's a very potent build for containing Japan without investing too much into dealing with them. Especially once you start upgrading their range, so you can start bombing, say, this port, or start trying to even bomb out over here. And instead, the main focus is trying to conserve your energy for a D-Day, which that, as a result, most of your supplies and equipment and all that lovely stuff goes into D-Day. Yes, until they reroute their convoys, but here's the problem. You can't reroute your convoy in a naval invasion. So if they try and naval invade the Philippines, if they try and naval invade the British Malaya, if they try and naval invade Dutch East Indies, once they land, they're going to have like one port. I'm just going to bomb that port, or I'm just going to bomb the sea tile where the convoy is coming from, and then they're going to starve. And so it's just about containing Japan, effectively saying that you can land, but you won't be able to hold, and it's making them have to give up a large proportion of their territories, or give up their islands, or suffer potential naval bombardment. So yes, it's right. It's not going to be very good for offensive operations like naval invasions or trying to hunt the enemy navy down, but it's very good at containing a Japan from naval invasions, because if they try and expand, and they're just going to get constantly attrition by these convoy raids. Hopefully. I mean, I didn't even know there was a bug, if I'm honest with you, but generally I don't really focus on the naval meta because I don't really have a clue about it. I try and get around it using the naval bombardments. No, the Marines. Wrong, naval bombers. The only thing where this could fail is over here, because if the Japan is competent and understands, he can build like a 2,000 airfield here, 2,000 airfield here, and beat you on air superiority. But it doesn't matter. So what if you lose this tile? You've still got all these islands. You can still get air superiority here, here, and here. Well, the key understanding is Japan is irrelevant in most multiplayer games. If you beat Japan, you don't win the game. It's like it achieves nothing. The only reason you worry about Japan is to protect your rubber reserves. The only reason you're actually investing anything to focus on Japan is to protect the rubber, so you have enough air to do a D-Day. And so all you really should be investing in is enough to contain Japan. Now, if you want to LARP the Pacific campaign, then by all means build a good navy to stop Japan's try and invade Japan. But from a optimization viewpoint, Japan has little game impact, and the only threat they really pose to you is if they take the rubber. And so as long as you can contain them using things like naval bombers, even submarine spam if you want, Japan effectively loses any sort of potency they have, and it's really on Japan's back to do something. Yeah, but what happens if they take India? Let's take a look at their resources. So India's got some chromium. I can get that from the Soviets. It's got some rubber. This is a lot more rubber. It's got some steel. I've got plenty of steel. Then why would you hold India? What does India have? No. What is the British Raj going to do to stop a D-Day? If Japan takes the British Raj, what's it going to do to stop a D-Day? And even then, I can just land lease air on fighters to India if it gets too desperate. I mean, they could potentially do some convoy raiding here if they do take India. But so what? I'll just reroute my convoys this way instead. So let's say Japan takes India. It's about taking the Brits out of the game in the long term. Okay, so Japan invades the British Raj. It beats the British Raj. What can Japan do next to knock the British out of the game? It can then spend the next year trying to invade for Iran. It could spend the next year trying to invade down to Singapore. Southeast Asia, let's take a look, shall we? Southeast Asia, why have I got this up? Go away. No, that's not that. So, Southeast Asia. So, let's say, hypothetically, it wants to move in to take Southeast Asia. It's going to need your air superiority to take this. Because I've got my air support up here, I can contain and prevent any sort of convoy raiding or blockading of my naval bombers and my CAS spam. So they can't really naval invade, and if they try, I'll just put, I don't know, 1,000 naval bombers on there, and then this fan will snap them out of existence. They could try convoy raiding over here. At which point you just say to the UK, okay, start rerouting your supply all the way around this way. Naval bombers don't beat things straight on. It's right, the naval bombers won't kill a fleet, but it's irrelevant because I don't have to kill the fleet. I just have to kill the convoys supplying your troops. So, actually, with the new supply mechanic, my naval bombers are going to cause an absolute nightmare for Japan moving into India, because it's not going to be able to get convoys through these ports, because I'll just have naval bombers on this sector and on this island here. And so the only way they're going to get proper supplies if they build a supply line into the British Raj. Of course, that's irrelevant for air and things like that, but it's still a point to consider. And so, yes, naval bombers won't wipe out a fleet, but what it will do is wipe out the convoys. And if they haven't got air superiority, then what are they going to do? If I just kill their convoys, then Japan loses. Convoys won't really touch that much with the update since they were already a big part of naval supply. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's take a look at my navy. Let's take a look at my convoys. So if I pause the game, tag over to Japan. Of course, this won't be a very accurate and a multiplayer game, but still a point to consider. It's got 310 convoys. So you are correct. You can protect the convoys and prevent them from being bombed. But now let's take a look at how many convoys they have lost. Death list, older. 0 convoys. 22 convoys. 8 convoys. Yes, but it takes time to make those convoys. It takes time to make those convoys. And bearing in mind that Japan isn't sending a lot of troops and has a lot of convoys over here. And then, of course, you've got radar from the UK if he's building radar. If you can get him to build radar, increasing the efficiency of your naval bombers. But yes, it's not as impactful as they were last time. But even if they build convoys, it doesn't matter. It's just delaying them. All you're doing is you're like the kid in school holding the other kid's head to stop them hitting you. As long as Japan doesn't take the rubber, then by the time before you're ready for D-Day, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in the slightest. And sure, they can build more convoys, but it's about just restricting their ability to stop you doing D-Day. That's all the Southeast Pacific is about. It's about holding onto the rubber. And so, in a perfect world, let's say Japan does break into India, breaks through your wall of CAS and your air superiority, does get naval supremacy, and then begins taking Singapore, and then slowly gets air superiority and pushes you off. That's going to take, what, 2 years? 3 years? So it's already 1941 then when they declare war on you. You're going to D-Day by 42. All you need to do is hold onto the rubber until 42. So unless the Japan player is an absolute god, wins China in 39. Well, how often do you see a Japan player beat the British Raj? I barely see a Japan player even beat a China half the time. But how often? You're saying every other game? Every game? Once every 5 games? Once every 6? Yeah, depends on if there's a China player. And there's the next question. How quickly do you often see a Japan take out a China? And let's assume there's not a player, and a Japan is competent. So let's assume there's no China player. You've got a somewhat competent Japan. How quickly does it take for Japan to knock out China?
Yes, sir.
And this is going off your experience. So you can lie, or you can say every like 1936, but it's just your own interpretation of what you want, of how often, in your own opinion. You can be as truthful as you want, but how quickly does it take without a China player for most Japan players to knock out a China, an AI China? Assuming that they're also getting probably 50,000 guns. Now I'm going to say, if the Japan player is an absolute god, probably late 38. And then most of them won't declare war until late 1940, early 41. Or mid 41, depending on the historical rule set. At this stage, you've got as much rubber as you want, you've got as many fighters as you want. All you really need to do is keep them at bay for about a year until you pull off your D-Day. So the Japan player's got a year time limit to knock out the British Raj, to knock out Singapore, and to knock out the rubber resources. And so what a Japan player is trying to do is instead trying to convince you that to invest more and more resources into China. Not into China, into the Pacific. So it delays you from D-Day. That's Japan's role. Japan's role in multiplayer games is to delay D-Day, and it does this by trying to threaten your rubber, and just depending on the rule set, threatening the Soviet Union. If I don't know, some rule sets have if you knock out a British Raj, they can invade the Soviets. And all you're really trying to do is keep Japan away from that reserves. And naval bombers are a cheap and effective way of doing it. Naval bombers with an org wall. If the Japan player is going to spam subs, you've got your destroyers. Yeah, you're going to be pretty safe. I'm going to buy you plenty of time. And that means that you can focus on other things. You can focus on your D-Day, you can focus on spamming out of that air, you can focus on building good units. But people get sucked into the Pacific, they get sucked into it. And that means by the time you've dealt with the Pacific, the Soviets have either lost, or the D-Day wall's too big. But I just don't see the point in wasting resources. When all I need is a rubber. As long as I keep my convoy routes open, as long as I keep my rubber reserves, then I don't see the point in wasting resources in the Pacific. That's why a lot of modded games also change it to make Japan more powerful and things like that. So here you'd have the UK radar up as well, to take that into account. And free trade is a go. But that's the thing, like, you're going off the assumption that Japan players are gods, but most of my Japan players I've come across can barely beat China, let alone beat China, build a decent navy to naval invade, and knock out India. Half the time I'm surprised they even take out China in a timely manner. Especially with the new supply update as well. Okay, are my boys ready? Almost ready. It's December 1941. I still have a 5k deficit on tanks and a 35k deficit on everything else. Let's buy it from these fellows, and let's buy it from these fellows. Or not, because we're rapidly running out of supplies for some reason. Are we being convoy raided? I don't think we are. So I don't understand why I'm getting struggled here. Ah, it's because I'm running out of convoys myself. Why am I running out of convoys? Because I've land leased it all, so I need to go to modify and cancel my land lease. And then I probably need to go to limited exports now. I've got to. There you go, export focus. And now I can start sorting my economy out. Let's go to this. Actually, let's keep boosting the Soviets. Let's get rid of the UK. And let's go to this. And there we are. We can now go on and continue doing this objective. And we can invest some more into our naval bombing. Why not? We'll also invest in more in the air land battle. Why not? And it's now December 41. We should have a D-Day ready to go by early 42. I should have more naval bombers out as well. Soon, he says, soon. How many naval bombers have I got in reserve now? 763, yeah. So we can just bomb this with impunity now. There we are. Lovely stuff. And we'll add some more naval bombers. Job done. Meanwhile, we're still land leasing the Soviets with about 1,000 Cobras, 290 CAS, and these guys are getting $251 fighters. I can add even more convoys. Let's take a look over here. Can I give these guys any more stuff? Okay, that's monthly production, so let's carry on.
Listen up.
And that's enough troops. We've got plenty of troops now. We don't have to worry about this anymore. We've got our org wall.
Ready to move.
And there we are. Make this guy our commander. It's fine. These guys have got CAS out the arse, or naval bombers out the arse. And now we can just chill. Of course, this isn't perfect. You would also have radar, but it's just a point to consider. Okay, our weapon production is now fine now. We can crack this back down to an acceptable level. Let's turn this off and put 5 on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got plenty of support equipment, so we can now churn that down. And we have plenty of everything else, so it should be ready for our D-Day. I got our 1040 whip divisions. We're going to deploy them soon. Or deploy them now. Our 7 divisions. Give them our best attack general. Send them over here. And make sure they're being trained up. This is very important that you're escorting them properly, so you would have escorts along the entire route to prevent any problems from arising. Can't believe Italy invaded that. I'm going to have to save and restart this to show you the enemy tags because I can't see them anymore for some reason. But hey ho. We've got too much steel. We don't need any more steel. And we don't need any more infantry equipment really. So bearing in mind this may be a rather weak build, it's just an idea for a guaranteed D-Day really. You may want to do medium cannons or tanks for future reference, but it's just an idea that it may work for you if you decide to give it a go if you just want a guaranteed D-Day. There we are.
Attention.
This is very dangerous. You probably don't want to be doing this in an actual game, but we can afford to do it here. There we are, for this exact reason. Because of the German U-boats. At the same time, let's get our fleet out. And there you are, lost 6 convoys because of that. But that's a point we need to consider. Next, we're going to start getting our air up. So this is where you'd be using tax as well to wear down the force, but because it's a single player game, we're not going to bother. There's nowhere to put any of our fighters or cast down, so guess what? I'm going to have to save because I can't do this anymore. I have to reload the game. Head back over, take a look. Are my guys back yet? Can I see my troops? Can I see friendly troops? No, I can't. FOW. No, I can't. I need to exit and re-enter by the looks of things. Oh, there we are. I pressed the wrong button. Bruh. So prepare our naval invasions. We'll split these into 2 units of our 40 whips. One, 2 on that. The other 2, or the other 3 on this. Guys getting trained up. By March time we should have a D-Day ready to go. We've got troops on standby, everything is ready. It's just building up our airports now to make sure everything is ready and ready to go. I'm really struggling on my convoys because I'm trading too much. Time to get even more greedy. It's because I land lease too much of it. And these guys, guess what? No more production for you. No more trading with you. You've actually ran out yourself. And let's see what to do. I don't think I'm losing my own convoys. So I don't understand... Oh, it's because I've been trading them out so much, that's why. That's the only reason why. Let's buy it from the Soviets. And there we are. Probably shouldn't be buying from Turkey, but hey, just a consideration. Damn, son, I'm really low on my stuff, and I think it's simply because I overtraded. I'm just not making enough convoys. Why am I not making enough convoys? I don't know. I don't know. In any case, let's get our planes up as soon as possible. And there we are. So March time, I reckon we'll give it a go. Make sure everything's trained up, everything's ready to be in position. So I'd say about mid-March, but then again I want to be really, really ready.
Listen up.
But sadly not enough guns, so I'm going to have to close some of these down. There we are, and that should mean I've got now more than enough. 180 days. Can I really afford to wait 180 days? Probably not. But hey ho, it is what it is. So we've got our 4, well, we've got our 7. We probably could do more if we were willing to wait 180 days. Then we could get like 10 or 12 that sort of those amphibious tank destroyers out. Not amphibious tank destroyers, amphibious. What? What's going on here? Oh, I haven't garrisoned it. That's why. Bit embarrassing. Can't believe I didn't garrison Wake Island. Oh well. A bit of a meme, but hey-oh. And now, because of that, I'm just going to bomb their convoys into submission. If they've got any troops up there, I'm just going to bomb them into submission. You can see any troops that's going to come through here now. Bombed, 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 bombed. I probably should invest in more airfields over here as well. There you go, more bombings. And now we can chill. Let's buy more of this. How many days? 151 days, that's such a long time. It's my fault for giving away all my convoys. Alright, June time is D-Day. June time D-Day. At the same time, we can start upgrading our bombers now. And we can chill. Final Marines. This is really getting to sort of the dangerous level for a delayed D-Day. It's going to take too long, which is a problem. And I'm just going to have to cut back on my supply now, on some of my trading. Like so. And then next thing I need to do is I need to... Ooh.
Keep your distance.
See what's going on here. How many planes did I have up here? 200, and yeah, not the best. Still, not the end of the world. Again, at this stage, it's not the end of the world. At the P, I don't have any further range because I can keep on bombing that, but still, it's a point to consider. You're always going to end up losing this island because of the enemy will be able to get superiority over you. Whereas all of this, the important stuff, not so much.
Ready, sir.
So we've delayed, but at this stage, Japan can't do anything else now, so we can just chill. Let's do some extraction with our factories so we can pay off the Piper. $155 days for D-Day. June time, come on, give me more. Trade with Cuba. Why am I not trading with Cuba? It makes so much more sense. There we are. And there's our buffalo, so we can now start max producing that buffalo. And finally, the thing we've got to do next. If we take a look at our units, 600 soft attack, 957 breakthrough, and mediocre armor, but it'll do the job if you know what I mean. Anyway, most of my units are ready. I don't understand why they're low supply though. Oh, because of that port. And I don't understand why you're over here and not over, say, here. Finally, send these troops up. Get that air superiority now. Hopefully I've got enough. There we are. For CAS. So we've got our 1,500 CAS, that should be enough. And there we are. Job done. Too much CAS in this area, which is a problem. Let's move them over there. That's not going to help. Let's stay there. There's our CAS, ready to go. Going to start doing logic bombing to pull up the enemy air. There you go, 17 enemy. Lots of logistics bombing. And of course, you've got to understand this would be a proper D-Day role, but this is just to simulate what I'd be doing. We'd have tanks up, we'd have ships up, that's everything and its mother over here. Come on, there we are. There's our fleet. Let's move it over here so our guys don't starve. How's the guns? 14 days. It's a bit of a late D-Day. You know what? I can't afford to delete it. We'll just have to go over the deficit and land. Probably been my own fault for not optimizing as much, but you get the general idea. You can probably pull out more further optimization. And because I ran out of, I kept on screwing up my supplies, well, screw up my production order. So let's go July. July is when we'll do our D-Day. Altogether, we've land leased a shit ton of planes to the Soviets, and we land leased so much fuel to the UK quote-unquote air controller. They should be able to persevere. Okay, get our air, switch them to this fellow, upgrade their air efficiency. That's wrong, but I'm pretty tired now. It's 8 o'clock, so we'll keep on persevering. And then we'll finish off with the Naval Invasion, which we will do now, as soon as I split this in two and tell them to give battlefield escort duty over there. You'd also have naval superiority over here to prevent the enemy vessels from doing anything dodgy. So we're going to simulate that by having Marines on there, not Marines. Have some of our bombers over here. And we're going to have some of our escort cruisers over here as well to get rid of that sub-detection. There we are, starting to bomb these submarines or these U-boats. Okay, we'll move some more troops off to do convoy escorts. Very important to stop the submarine spam. Start closing down some of our stuff over here. Build mills for days. Why not? Let's do a tag switch now. Let's tag Japan to see how he's doing. Still got 202 convoys, but where's his convoy routes anyway? But remember, most of them don't actually go through any of my relevant territory. There's some over here which they're getting convoy escorts from, but most of their convoy routes are coming into places I can't really interdict. But bear in mind, this is a defensive build against Japan. This just means that you're having to extend Japan's supply lines either further inland, or you're having to you're being defensive basically. Yes, it's true that Japan, if you don't have air over Japanese troops and their supply, it's going to be difficult to naval bombard them, but it still means that on defensive and in places where you do have that reach, you should be fine to just bleed them out. As you can see, there's not a lot of troops on these islands, meaning that's why there's so low convoy attacks. But of course, with the supply coming in through these regions and troops coming into these regions, it's just made it very difficult for the, Japan, both an AI Japan and a multiplayer Japan, from doing anything to stop you. Next. So we're slowly winning the convoy war. We've got our max superiority. Let's do our D-Day now. June is probably the cut-off date. A bit of a delay there, but it's the best you can do. 7's not bad. I would prefer more, but this is to get a guaranteed D-Day. And then, of course, you're going to pop your crypto. And then you're going to pop your plan black. And then you're going to land. Make sure you're force attacking. This is not a good D-Day wall, but this is a good indication of how quick this can work. And then you're going to start expanding out as quickly as possible. Let's turn off night and day. I'm just going to go aggressive because it's AI. I don't really have to worry too much about this. If you take a look at some of the stats, I can't even take a look at some of the stats because of just how quick this is. And bear in mind, you'd have the other allies doing this as well, you know, being aggressive and trying to help you out. And then we're going to send the rest of our infantry. This is very vulnerable though, if you don't have like a South African armour or you don't have Canadian armour. This is very vulnerable because you don't have any armour that's really good against the German armour. So this will get you D-Day, but it's not going to get you anything else, if you know what I mean. Next, we're going to attack on our CAS. We're going to split them up and attack on our CAS to the sky. And then we're just going to chill. Probably want to be a bit quicker. Lovely breakthrough. Sadly, these are quite slow tanks, but hey ho. And this would normally be the end of the game because you've effectively done everything you needed to do. The allies would start pouring in, and you'd be fine. A bit lazy on my infantry. I should have trained them up, but this is again something you'd be doing properly if you were playing a serious multiplayer game. Of course, this is not the most accurate representation of events, but it's still something you should. It's still, you understand the general concept of it. Just building nothing but for D-Day, and using that air to effectively just check Japan and to check the Germans. Because no, if you don't have air, you can't D-Day. So it's that simple. I have no idea what some of my tanks are doing, but hey yo. Whatever. Can we do another crypto bomb? No. Let's do some encirclements. And that's a job done. Of course, I tried to do my best to simulate multiplayer games, but this, of course, was a very weak D-Day wall. Normally, D-Day walls would be much more potent, and it would take a lot longer to break through. But on the other hand, you'd also have, you know, players to help you, and just that sort of general thing. Did the UK ever actually win? No, they didn't. Oh wow, Naval Invasions. What on earth am I going to do? I suppose I should put out more CAS. But it doesn't matter. At this stage, the game's already won. The game is already won. He says, as his tanks slowly get overrun. Because I'm not microing them because I don't care. I'm not microing because I just don't give a shit. Okay, let's stop microing the tanks because that's just embarrassing. That's pretty oofy. We can send some more troops now to reinforce this. Again, this is lazy. You'd normally have an army, but it's lazy. And let's churn out some more troops as well. It's a lazy game. There we are. Stop attacking. Go over here, start doing encirclements. Oh, we have done encirclements, that's nice. Encirclements without even realising it. Stop bombing me. That's no supply, so that we're not going to get anything from these guys. And from then, nothing Japan can do is relevant here. So Japan could now take the whole of the Pacific. Who cares? Who cares? There have been mods to try and make Japan have more impact, but for the most part, they don't really have that much. They haven't really done much to make the Japan War, the Pacific War, any more interesting than it currently is. And I've just got all my troops encircled again because I wasn't paying attention. Bruh. Can you, like, stop? This AI is doing better than expected. Also because I've got no supply here. So we're going to start moving along the coast again. I don't know why the USSR has declared war on Iran, but hey ho. There we are, just push through. I'm gonna do some potato wrangling with this AI. There we are. Oh, overrun, that's nice. Didn't really get an overrun with these slow units, but hey ho. There we are. Finish these guys off. That's a lot of troops they're churning out. I'm very impressed by the Axis right now to churn out that many troops. Why have we got no supply? Let's take a look. I'd have no idea why we don't have any supply. I'm just going to assume bad luck, but hey ho. Right, my tanks are too dispersed now, so let's retreat them back. This tank can stay there because that's a lovely, looking bulge to close in. Did I get reinforcements? I think I did. Okay, once again, trying that encirclement. Don't encircle, but push them back. Let's try again. Probably should be taking Paris by now, if I'm honest. Interesting. So we're just going to go back and forth, are we? Looks like it. Let's train more troops. Let's deploy more garrisons. Or more tanks. More marine tanks for the job. Hello, Beerman. Welcome back to the stream. But I won't be on for very long. I'm just finishing off the D-Day guide for a certain build. Hopefully it will work. Well, I think it's quite useful. I think it's quite an interesting one. But it's just really the aim is just to achieve a D-Day. I'm going to take Paris now because we need to take Paris. It's getting ridiculous the amount of how bad the supply is. And you know what? I'm probably going to start switching my research. Take Paris now, with your no oil. Come on, there. Do your job there. There we are. Now what to do next? Let's go over here. It's not really anywhere decent to encircle there, so instead let's go over here. Oh, it's because the Italians are here. Okay, that makes sense now. This is a good division, I like it. Expensive, but it does the job. That breakthrough is what does it, I think. Those improved radios are godly. Let's take a look at the supply lines. If I can move up here to take Brussels. That's a bit risky. I'm going to have to retreat from that. That's bugged, but I'll try not to cry. And then the final push, let's go take that D-Day. Let's go take that, let's go take Dunkirk for the extra supply. Well, these are some nice units, I like them. It's just so expensive to make and you've got to dedicate so much resources to it. Who needs speed when you've got air superiority? Where's another bulge I can knock out? Let's finish these guys off so this is all secure now. And let's move back over here. I can just be a potato here because of how against an AI this unit's just too good. Like even reinforcing units are getting deleted.
Yes, sir.
No, go back over here. There we go. Attack this. Attack that. It stays here. There we are. Job done. Another glorious pin with a soft attack spam.
Go, go, go! Orders.
This would probably struggle multiplayer because you probably would have to use anti-tank on this. Because you're going to be so dependent on allied armor. You'll get the D-Day, but you're going to be so dependent on allied armor, it's going to be disgustingly painful.
Ready to move.
Okay, that's another encirclement. Surely you should be running out of troops by now. But okay, whatever. We'll keep going.
Fall back!
And let's upgrade our armor. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da, and we're done. Let's keep it on.
Attention! Port! Move out!
Okay, I'm running out of fuel now.
Yes, sir.
That's what you get for overextending like a potato.
Under fire! Keep your distance! Yes, sir. Orders. Advance.
But because we took Luxembourg, we get more supply. That's a bit ridiculous. Luxembourg OP. Quite impressed with the Germany's ability to almost counteract to the D-Day, but it's just not enough.
Move out! Ready to move. Orders.
Carry on. Shall we go for Amsterdam? Yeah, why not?
Move out!
Gives me more supply, doesn't it? I'd like to see what these units are, but it could just be potato. Potato like 8 whips or something like Alright, we need to stop pushing because we're running out of fuel. Let's halt, retreat. Let's need to push somewhere else. Let's push down into Vichy. Knock Vichy out the war. We'll just go up this main supply line. Once we take Vichy, I think that's pretty much the entire German starved.
Commands. Move out. Move out. Move out. Listen up. Keep moving. Listen up.
Don't snake in multiplayer, but it's single player, so go ahead. Go ahead, snake to your heart's content.
Commands.
Damn it.
Listen up.
That's not enough supply to feed me and my amazing push. Right outside Vichy as well. We'll push to Dijon instead.
Commands.
No, stop reinforce memeing me. And we can switch our production to something else now. Let's go to improved artillery. It says improved artillery 3, and let's go to M2 carbine.
All in.
There we are, that's Dijon taken. Next on the list. Push this way, push this way. Really? You're still pushing even though we're pretty much deleting you? That's pretty bad on the Soviets' part. And now pushing to Vichy. Everyone pushing to Vichy now, you've got the supplies.
Listen up. All in. Abort. Abort.
And that should have these guys completely cut off now.
Attention. Move out. Keep on attacking. Ready. Ready. Ready, sir.
That's so far away to get to. I believe though, I believe.
Ready.
That's dangerous, but we're going to risk it.
Ready, sir. Move out.
Don't understand why we're not getting supplied. Because of this railroad. Oh well.
Move out! Move out!
See if I can break through here.
Listen up!
I can't. Let's try over here.
Advance!
Get this objective, we'll get some resupply there. These guys will just slowly starve and they'll have to retreat or break out. I don't think they're going to be breaking out.
Yes, sir!
Has that improved our supply in any way? Not really, no.
Listen up! Move out!
I'm just too greedy for those encirclements.
Pushing them back, sir! Pushing them back, sir! Move back! Go, go, go!
And with that, that's the entire pocket encircled. That's if they don't try and break through here. There we are. You can't be getting supply still. I don't understand how you could possibly keep on getting supply. How many cannons do I have? Enough.
Advance! Orders! Advance! Move out!
Alright, let's close this pocket because I'm getting sick and tired of having to fight over here. But you can tell, basically this is the end of the build. It's just closing it down. Of course you'd have tanks and planes, well you'd have the allied tanks and that. But you've got your guaranteed D-Day doing this.
Attention!
Still, I will play it through to the end just for completion's sake. And let's start upgrading some of these railroads. Alright, we're not going to push from this side. I'm sick and tired of trying to push in this god-forsaken part of the map. Get me out of this part of the country. And we'll just push elsewhere. I don't want to push here no more. This place ain't no fun. How is the Soviets losing to such a badly beaten Germany? I just want tanks over here. I don't want to be here no more. Look at that counterattack. Isn't that attractive?
Listen up. Attention.
And let's build our tanks one final time. So right now they've got 37 org. Let's get rid of this and get rid of this. And then let's give these guys Amphibious Tank again and Amphibious Tank again for that 33 org. Let's get rid of this one more time. And there's that last Amphibious Tank, which will give us 1,100 breakthrough, 783 soft attack, and a whopping 80 hardness.
Yes, sir.
Has anyone got to their destination yet?
Move out.
Okay.
Ready.
And then let's delete this. And then let's send our tanks down to take Liège. What's the armor like on this? Probably not enough. It's probably still going to get pierced. Yes, this is always going to get pierced. So the big counter to this will be
Yes, sir.
enemy enemy anti-tank, but there's not much you can do about that in the current patch.
Ready, sir. Ready to move.
Hmm.
Ready, sir.
Did that really happen?
Listen up.
I guess it did.
Ready. Move out.
You know what? Right click to glory.
Ready to move.
Oh, I need that railway open, don't I? Yeah, I need that railway open.
Ready, sir. Keep on attacking. Keep moving. Keep on attacking. Yes, sir.
Oh, they reopened their supply lines. Hopefully not enough to feed them too much. Yeah, not enough to feed them too much.
Attention.
We still hold... oh no, we don't hold reach anymore, that's a problem. You know what? Let's carry on the Vichy campaign, why not? But I need to spread my troops out more, so everyone on here. And now we can wait. Train up some more tanks. How are our tanks doing? We're running out. Why are we running out? Because we ran out of rubber. That's not right. Asshole.
All in.
Let's take a look at our supply lines. Why is supply bad? Because there's too many people on here. Let's start upgrading all the rail lines so everyone has plenty of food. And then let's attack. Let's attack, I don't care. Or don't attack because I forgot to give you an attack order. I don't want to push Invading anymore. It was fun for a while, but there's just too many troops in Vichy. So at least Japan's, well, at least Italy's collapsing. I didn't even bother looking what's going on over here. Some mildly amusing memes by the looks of it. My attacks are in fact getting me pushed back, so let's not do that. Let's go with aggressive assaulter, colonization first, and then we will go with smoke and fire, overwhelming firepower, and bolt attack. And now we wait. I've had to spread my troops out now because you can't really snake in Vichy. Also, I'm starting to lose a healthy portion of my tanks to attrition, which is my own fault. I did too big an encirclement, that's why. I just too big an encirclement and not enough supply to maintain it. Are you doing better now, Soviets? Just about.
Yes, sir.
There we go.
Ready to move.
Slowly but surely plodding forward. It helps that the actually allied AI is now vomiting troops out, which is nice.
Orders. Ready, sir. Ready to move.
You contained, you contained. Yes, you are. Okay, let's close this down.
Yes, sir.
I don't know how many troops I've killed. Let's take a look. 1 million. Okay, that's not a lot. What about the Vichy? Yeah, that's not a lot of troops I've killed. They must have really tiny divisions.
Attention. Move out. Move out.
And a job well done. This is ridiculous. This is also ridiculous. This is the amount of troops that's been vomiting out by the AI. This would normally not happen in an MP game either. And you would normally not see this sheer amount of cannon fodder the enemy has.
Ready. Commands.
Okay. Let's knock out the Italians. And then we'll carry on with our day.
Yes, sir.
Any more casts I can throw out? Let's throw out some more casts. I can't be bothered. Well, you know the drill. You basically know what we'll be doing at this stage. You'll be, you know, constantly enforcing, adding more air, that sort of thing. Bear in mind it's now 9 o'clock and I've just done 3 hours of this game. You know, man.
Yes, sir. Advance.
Nothing the tanks push. I look at the damage these guys are doing. Even on bad terrain, I'm still doing pretty well with the breakthroughs and that. I mean, they're always going to get penned. Like, these guys will always get penned, but there's not much you can do about it. Let's get over these hills, and once we're over the hills, we'll be done. By saying that, we are rapidly running out of equipment, just right-clicking our way to glory, so we'll stop this now, and we will now finish off with a breakthrough in this sector. You feel like winning yet, Soviets? Yeah, it's now feeling like winning. Still very impressive that the AI was able to do this. Actually made D-Day fun, although I wish they had a better D-Day wall. Churn out more guns. Factories now. No thank you. Oh, rubber's bad. Why is rubber bad? I don't know. Anyway. Has the Japan done anything? Not really. More or less pushed out, yeah, okay. So pretty much most MP Japan's then. I don't need to research any of this anymore. There we are, we're good, and we are good. Let's just put most what's left of our factories into our cannons. Into our guns. I don't need that much cast anymore either. I don't know what to add anymore. More amphibious tanks, I guess. I'm running out of stuff to buy. I'll buy it from the French. Yeah. Yeah.
Listen up. Call it.
The Allies encircled this. That's rather funny, that. That's actually really impressive. I'm quite happy with that. The Allies going to push the... I'll just close that pocket. I'll do my bit and close the pocket. Get the rest of my boys attacking. Actually, let's send our tanks elsewhere. And let's attack. There's no real defensive lines left. Goodbye. Have a beautiful time. Let's take a look at the casualties. So most of the time, Germany's probably not going to have that many casualties. And the game's never ever going to go on as long because you can have a much more coordinated D-Day, and I'm not going to be so lazy with my units. I'll just walk into Berlin and then they'll just starve. That's pretty effective. That's good. But that's over quite a large period of time. So you've got to bear that in mind. But then again, you've got to bear in mind the radar, which also would be helpful. Can I crypto again? No, I can't. Lel. That's a pretty dreadnought class, that's probably why. I'd say it's somewhat realistic, but it's not. This entire affair has not been realistic in its last. Normally Vichy just collapses. Well, historically Vichy just collapsed.
Yes, sir.
And there we go. Final pushes. I probably should push to Vienna if I want to finish this. Let's just push to Vienna and let's get this done. Sorry, Poland. I'm bored now. So, strengths of this build, you're going to have very strong D-Day units. Problems with this build, it's going to be very vulnerable to enemy tanks unless you put anti-tank in your own, and very vulnerable to piercing. However, if you stack all those bonuses, you should get a D-Day landing, and with that soft attack and hopefully with allied armor, you should be able to achieve a successful D-Day. Altogether, it's quite an interesting one. Some debate over the effectiveness and not having a navy and things like that, but I think that really Japan is not relevant half the time. It's not relevant. In I'd say 9 out of 10 games, Japan proves irrelevant and having no impact on the actual outcome of the war. They'll either just focus entirely on India, or they will faff about in or they'll do some Mickey Mouse Naval Invasions. That took a long time to close that pocket. That is a lot of defences as well, that's quite impressive. I'm starting to run out of tanks again. Let's go for preferred tactic as let's, and for our tanks, for our Marine Commander, let's give them the preferred tactic of Blitz as well. Oh, let's do breakthrough. Let's do breakthrough. Hold the attacks, put them over here. And aim for Blitzkrieg onto Vienna. And then what else have we got to do? Let's not do anything because I actually ran out of stuff. I'm too big.
Ready.
I don't think I've got enough supply to do this. Where's this next supply dump? Miles away. Miles away. I think I can just push without supply though. Oh, without oil, that's what I meant to say. And gradually lose tanks, but hey ho.
Ready, sir.
Yes, this works. Yes, very, very slowly. You sure you don't want to surrender yet, Germany? I don't really want to keep on playing now. I'm a bit bored. Oh, come on now, Germany. This potato advance into Vienna is just awful. I should be advancing up here to get to Vienna down here.
Listen up.
We're gonna push without oil. That's what we're doing. We're pushing without oil. We're literally pushing the tanks with our bare hands.
All in. All in.
I don't think this will work now. But hey ho. Let's stop the offensives. Let's push into Prague now. We did a little penetration, but nothing. It wasn't worth it. Like you really do have to follow the supply lines now. Yeah, you can almost meme it, but it's just too risky. It's just too risky. Like this wouldn't work in most games, and you lose so many tanks doing it. Indeed, Fiery Dragon. Indeed, but sadly coming to the end. Hopefully soon, so I can finish off this build demo. I can dream. I can finish this hopefully tonight. Because I don't want to play this anymore. Like it gets to a stage in HOI4 when you just got like the wall of troops and you just don't want to keep playing.
Yes, sir.
Well, it's a good build. Very interesting. It's a very risky one though. This is really just old. The only purpose for this is for D-Day, and you just gotta hope your allies have got decent tanks. Ah, exactly fine. That's the problem with trying to better yourself. You end up missing HOI4. If it makes you feel better, there wasn't much. It's just a very boring game. But USA games are very boring anyway.
Yes, sir.
Come on. Give me my hundreds. Why don't you give me my hundreds? There we are. And let's give all that cash to these fellows. And then we're done. And then we're done. Finally. Yeah, it was a very boring game. I'm just gonna click done and let the allies do what they want with it. So, this is the end of the Soviet build. Why did this? Oh, you know what? Let's not worry about it. Primarily, the benefits of this build is you're going to be able to dedicate most of your resources to D-Day. The cost of this build is that you're going to land, but you're going to be very dependent on your allied armor to actually counter the enemy armor. So you're going to get a good D-Day, you're going to get a good landing, but you're probably going to be guaranteed a landing, but you're just not going to have a lot of troops on standby to to counterattack German armor. No worries, Fire Dragon. I'll see you next time. Sorry about that, but hopefully you'll be able to catch the stream tomorrow. But that's going to be Dreadnought, Ultimate Admiral Dreadnought. In any case, yep. So that's a big issue of what I will say. There's like no piercing with this armor. So against any decent tanks, you're just going to be blocked, but it's going to be an infantry killer, so potentially you'll be able to get around the enemy infantry and use that cast, get around enemy tanks and use that cast to do that force multiplier. What I suppose you could do instead, if I just changed this out and changed it and gave it medium armament, improved medium cannon instead for that extra piercing. That's wrong. You could go for improved medium armaments and have that piercing of 81. Again, it's not going to really work against the higher tier armor, but it's going to work against most builds, and it's going to have well, average medium tanks, and to that effect, the sort of stuff you'll get in 1942. Heavy tanks, not so much. This will still work, and if you're really wanting to be a bit more risky or a bit more safe, you can instead go down the anti-tank to get the advanced high velocity cannon, which will also give you an extra bonus, which will give you that soft attack and that piercing, but at the cost of not having that soft attack. So it's really a question is how desperate you want a D-Day and how sure of you that the German armor is not going to be completely maxed, which hopefully it's not going to be in current meta. As you can see with the Japan build, it's just an org wall. Literally all it is an org wall. I could probably put more troops to defend this and take troops off these islands and take more troops off this coastline. But generally, it's just an org wall with using your naval bombers and using potentially UK radar to just make sure that the Japan player cannot interfere with your convoys and your rubber supply, which it does. It works very well against submarines, and it'll work very well against naval invasions, especially if you've got enough out. Even if they do land, if they haven't got the airfield, you can just keep bombing away at their convoys, and then you can use your air superiority and your CAS and your fighters to then counterattack and push them off the tile. So this is a good build. Only considerations is that if you're going to go for that march, you probably want to just use the 7 tanks to do the D-Day, or the 740 whips, rather than having to rely on the waiting until that June time of 1942. Also, you can see they're going to be very vulnerable about support from the UK and support from the other allies, and it's going to be a very team-based game, depending on other. Hopefully having the UK with some OK Marines and some armour from the Canada and the South Africa. So once again, this is going to be a build that will make you dependent on your allies. However, you can counteract that by doing some changes to your tank meta. So here is the division templates, very basic. This is going to be a basic holding 20 whips, and here's going to be your very basic, well, your very complex 40 whips with, of course, that extra soft attack, but extra breakthrough because you've got a better cannon. Any questions, don't feel free to ask. And of course, if you want to debate the joys of Japan, feel free to do so. But in my own experience, I tend to find Japan struggles to take China, even if it's an AI China, and it struggles to do anything of any interest in the Pacific. It will often get stuck on this wall here with CAS and that for India, and it will often struggle to really just push into Singapore. And even if it does take Singapore, you've still got all the rubber elsewhere. So as you can see, if you take a look at the rubber reserves, 821 rubber, 300 rubber there, 100 rubber there, another 600 rubber there. So sure, the Japan will get a rather nice bit of rubber, but then you can just convoy raid and stop Japan doing anything of any value. Yeah, I just don't understand your obsession with Japan. There are rule sets that make Japan more important, like if Japan knocks out India, you can move into and invade the Soviet Union. But for the most part, Japan never really achieves that unless you've got a very good Japan or a very bad India. And so you've got to bear that in mind. Most games, it's very difficult to play as Japan, and they're not going to really pull a lot off. Does mean for a very boring game as the USA, but that's the cost of the USA. A very important nation, but very boring as well. And you're going to have to hope that the Soviet player survives until that March time of 1942. Otherwise, you're going to be rushed to do a D-Day. You might be able to get four Marines out, but it's not going to be optimum. And this is sort of a late March 1942 D-Day, which is going to be rather late and rather costly. Any case, any questions, don't feel free to ask, and I hope you all had a very good time. So thank you all for watching, and adieu.